Hey, Janae here. Call me Miss Royalty. Thank you for tuning in. So I'm doing something a little different today. I'm getting ready to go somewhere, but I'm going to talk about my fibroids while I'm getting ready to go. So bear with me. So I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do it today so I can kind of do two things at once. So I am going to do my makeup. I usually use two primers. One is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer, and then the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Primer. I usually put this one on first and then this one. But anyway, so while I'm doing that, I want to talk to y'all about my little fibroid situation. So long ago in the kingdom far, far away, aka 2014, back in Flint, Michigan, at the time my primary care physician sent me to get CT scan because I was having a lot of pain in my stomach. And of course he did that and a colonoscopy. We were sent to do both. And so all this time we're thinking something's going on with my digestive system, my colon and all that jazz. And that's when they discovered that the fibroids and my uterus had grown. So just a reference, when I was about 23 years old, that's when I was first diagnosed with uterine fibroids. And uterine fibroids are basically tumors that grow in or on the uterus. So they can grow like within the actual uterine cavity. They can grow within the uterine lining or like the uterine wall, or they can grow and branch off outside of the uterus. So anyway, basically I was told when I was about 23 that I had them. And the doctor I had at the time was like, yo, it's cool. They're small. Just get married and have kids before you're 30. Which did not happen, by the way, because I had my surgery when I was 28. But anyway, so, we kind of like we didn't really watch them. They were just like, they're small, nothing to worry about. But in 2014, it come to find out they had grown so much they were causing all these other issues in my body. So he set me up with my gynecologist. She did an ultrasound, and not only had they grown, but because there were so many of them and the size of them, it was like, and the location of them, because one of them was so big and the position of it was basically blocking the entryway through, I guess, the vaginal pathway. So I couldn't even get my pap smears because the fibroid was basically blocking the hole. So basically she was like, yo, we got to get these out. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's not how I planned for my life to go, but I mean, they causing problems. We got to get these boys out. So blah, blah, blah. We get to the point where we do the surgery. And now, mind you, when we first, I'm using this new Fenty Beauty. Well, it's not new anymore, I guess. The Pro Filter Hydrating Long Wear Foundation. I actually like this. So when we first found them, which would have been like November, December 2014, and saw how big they had gotten, I should say. They were like, oh, it's 8. The largest one was 8 centimeters. Well, by the time I made it to the gynecologist and a follow-up ultrasound, it had grown to 9 centimeters. So basically, this little thing was just living its best life inside my body, right? And that's just the big one. So then, by the time we did the surgery, I had my surgery July 2015. The larger one had grown to 12 centimeters. My doctor was like, it was the size of a baby's head. If it had gotten any larger, it would have become cancerous. She said it took 45 minutes just to get the back one out because it had basically embedded itself into like my back muscles, and it acted like it was part of my back muscles. And it was literally pressing on my spine, which explains a lot because I was having like random like lower back pain and like random spasms at times. Of course, we didn't know what it was. I was going to the chiropractor like, yo, fix me. But now we know it was because of the fiber, especially the big one. And so anyway, so we got that handled. They took 9. They removed 9 of them. And like I said, the largest one was the 12 centimeters. And a good thing about that surgery though is that I did not lose a lot of blood. That was something that the doctor was, my gynecologist, because she's the one who did my surgery, that she really appreciated about my experience, because you know the uterine fibroids are basically like blood vessels. They literally just collect blood. They just full of blood. So it was good that I did not like lose a whole lot of blood, like, because bleeding can get, you know, that can be life threatening. You know, one of the things that they ask me before I go into my surgery is that if it gets to the point where you're losing too much blood and you have to get, you know, like your whole uterus removed, would you be okay with that? I told that woman no when she first asked me. I said, no, I'm trying to have kids. And then she was like, then you can't have the surgery. I'm like, why not? Because it's like they get to the point where they have to save your life. And if you're telling me that I can't save your life, if I'm choosing between saving your life and saving your uterus, and you telling me to save your uterus but lose you, I can't be in agreement with basically killing you or letting you die. So I'm like, that is an unfair question to ask. But you know, it is what it is. So of course I agreed, because I signed papers, and I agreed to like do what you got to do, all right? But I want my uterus. So anyway, it worked out. Of course, I prayed about it many times. But it did work out. They did not have to take out my uterus at all, thank God. And they just removed the fibroids. And, you know, they did all the testing stuff, so I'm good as far as, like, the overall health of my body and my uterus, for the most part, just the healing part. Now, the healing part, the recovery was a whole other ball game, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. I did my follow-up appointment, so they had, like, a 6-month post-op follow-up appointment, and then of course a 12-month post-op follow-up appointment, like post-operation of your surgery. And what color eyes am I wearing today? I'm keeping this simple, like simple, natural. I ain't trying to do too much, but I want to look like a decent human being. You know what I mean? Like I actually care about how I look today. So yeah, my 6 months post-op. Because, you know, I asked a question when she did the surgery, because she sent me the pictures, because they took pictures of them when they removed them out of my body. And so I asked, I was like, did y'all get all of them out? And she's like, technically we don't know. We can feel and we can feel, but we don't want to cut on the uterus too much. So they're like, if I ain't got to cut your uterus all the way open, I would like to avoid that. So if I think, and I could be wrong about this, I like to look at my medical papers, but I think that the fibroids that I had were all like the ones that branched outside of the uterus, so they just had to cut them off. But again, though, they still feel and get what they can, so they can get as much out as possible. But of course, if they have the ones that are inside the uterine wall, like the lining, or actually in the uterine cavity, of course they have no choice but to cut the uterus to get it out. It's like basically getting a baby. So basically the process is basically having a cesarean section. So I have the cut, like they cut me right on across the bikini line. I have the scar right across the bikini line. It's all there. But she's just like, they failed and got as much as they could, based on what they could feel. So I'm like, I mean, it is what it is. But at my 6-month op, it looked clean, right? It was like, they did the ultrasound and it looked like I was going to be in good shape. All right, cool. You know what I mean? But then at my 11-month, 12-month op, it showed that I had 2 new ones, 2 small ones. And of course I got super discouraged, because I'm like, yo, you trying to tell me I'm gonna have this surgery again? Like, that was not cool. So that's when I first started going plant-based, actually, because I did a lot of research, and it was just saying doctors never really know the why. Oh, it's hereditary. The devil is a lie. You know what I'm saying? Everything ain't hereditary. Some stuff is based on something. You can't just tell me everything is hereditary, because basically what you're telling me is you don't know. You don't know the cause of it, so you don't know the solution. That's what you're telling me. Which means there's no point in me coming to you. Why pay the money to go see you and you don't have an answer? But anyway, long story shorter, That's when I first went plant-based. And they did start to grow, but then they started shrinking. Because at this point, I switched to gynecologists and I started getting ultrasounds once a year. And I think at year 2 post-op, those 2 that had started growing had started to shrink. So the exercise and the eating, the plant-based, really did make a difference. But like, I also know that like stress is a contributor of their growth. So stress, toxins, which why it matters what you eat, because some foods are just naturally quote unquote toxic for the bodies, and they're just not healthy for helping your body naturally heal itself. I know, and then stress, like other external factors that can cause you stress, whether that's work related, relationships, whether that's just sometimes things just happen and they just they just cause extra stress to your body. And so I guess the way my body decided to respond to that stress was growing these fibroids, right? So we were watching them. They would grow, then they would shrink, then they would grow, then they would shrink. So we was kind of doing this back and forth thing. And then I recently relocated back in 2019. So I moved to a whole other state and had to find whole new doctors and all that jazz, right? Thank God that I found a really good gynecologist by recommendation. And okay, so I guess this is the Naked Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. So the color I just put on my eye was Hive, which is what, this one? And now I'm about to put on Sting, which is this one. So anyway, I switched, moved to another state, found a new doctor, all that jazz. And the gynecologist here, I really love her. She was like, okay, so you had surgery before, can I see those papers? So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get this to you. Because she's like, we did an ultrasound, just my regular follow-up, did my regular annual, the pap smear, and I explained the whole fibroid situation, and we set up the ultrasound so she can like look and see how things were going. And so she's like, yeah, I see that there are 2 there, and it makes me wonder if they got them all when they did the initial surgery. And I was like, well, I don't know, they told me they got what they could, so we've been watching them once a year. I would get an ultrasound, same. And at first they were pretty stagnant. Like they weren't growing, but they weren't shrinking either. So this would have been like 2019. And then once 2020 hit, that's when they started growing. Something happened you can blame the darn pandemic, I don't know. But in 2020, when I went back for my ultrasound and my annual, they were like, okay, they've grown 2 centimeters. And then at this point, it was like, it's not just the 2, there are multiple. And usually when they say multiple, you're at the point where you're like 3 or more. And they never gave me a definitive number of how many that were in there. They were just like, yo, it's more than 3. I'm like, what in the what, right? So there's that. So then I'm like, at this point, I'm kind of in a position where I'm like, I'm just trying to master the field. I'm a comfort eater, if I'm honest. I eat junk when I want to feel better. And I know that's not the best thing to do, but at least I'm honest about it and I know, right? So I don't do it all the time, but I do it a lot. And I'm sure that didn't help, but you ain't finna tell me that causes that much, like, that much growth in my body, But anyway, that was in 2020. So then I'm like, well, let me get my act together. So I was already like being more aggressive and even more intentional with my fitness journey, like working out, because I had lost a lot of weight when I moved, when I left Michigan and moved. So then I was like, let me try to see if I can gain some weight through muscle. I ain't really gained that much muscle. I'm sorry. I don't like lifting heavy. But I'll lift, so I didn't gain a lot of muscle, but I definitely gained some weight. Finally, it took like 1.5 years, but some weight came. But then I went back. Which was this? No, I didn't go back. What happened is that I went to the hospital. I went to the hospital last year, the week of Thanksgiving. So this was 2020, the week of Thanksgiving. And I had this bowel obstruction. It was a mess. Let me tell y'all something. I went to the hospital because I was going to the bathroom like crazy, like loose stool, like it was just coming out, and I just kept going. And I was like, but my stomach was so full. I'm sitting there like, I'm pooping, but this poop is not all coming out. And so I went to the emergency like, yo, something ain't right. Like, I'm going to the bathroom like crazy, but I'm so full. Something's going on. And they just was like, emergency, the guy was just like, well, we'll do the CT scan and see if there's something going on. So they did a CT scan, and they're like, we don't see anything wrong. You just got a lot of stuff in your colon. Yeah, I know I got a lot of stuff in my colon. That's why I'm here. I need help. Something's going on. It's not coming out. Like, what's up? But I'm pooping like crazy. Like, explain to me what's going on. We don't know. So they put me on the IV for a little while, and they sent me home, right? 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up in severe pain. The worst pain of my life, if I could say that. Like, legit, this pain was worse than whatever pain I felt after I woke up from the surgery. Like, it was ridiculous. I went back to the hospital. I couldn't even walk. Like, my roommate had to drive me to the hospital. Do another CT scan. I had an intussussection. So my lower bowels decided to, what they call it, like fold within itself, basically. So what they call it, twisted bowels or whatever. I don't know if the two are related. I don't know if the obstruction and the intersection were related, but I know I did not have the intersection before, and I never had bowels obstruction like that. So it was just a mess. So they had me they admitted me to the hospital. And then they give you the stuff to help you poop. So like, girl, that stuff was coming out. Like, I'm sorry, I'm graphic, but bro, there was no control whatsoever of that. None at all. So they were like, we gotta get your colon cleaned out. We gotta get your colon cleaned out. We gotta watch your intersection to make sure it doesn't get worse. Because they're like, it can clear itself up where it'll just untwist naturally. Or it won't, in which case you'll have to get surgery, which we trying to avoid surgery, right? So I'm just like, whew. Oh, I just put HBIC. I think this color right here on my lid. So I'm just like, all right, as long as I can get my little bowels cleared out and this pain is gone, I mean, do what you got to do. So they admitted me. I stayed there for like 2 days. They cleared me out, and the good thing is that the intersection cleared itself. They had to watch it because they wouldn't release me until I could poop on my own without like any type of like aid. So eventually that happened, so I was cleared to go home. But they did do a CT scan and an ultrasound, and in that CT scan and ultrasound they saw that the fibroids had grown. And they were like, yeah, that's a pretty big uterus. Of course, they recommend, obviously, a follow-up regarding the intersection, but follow up with my gynecologist regarding the fibroid. So we did. And she was like, yeah, they've grown. She's like, the position of them, though, and the size of them, she's like, you're okay if you still want to have children, even with them in there. Like, you don't have to remove them unless they're causing some serious problems. At the time, we weren't connecting the fibroids with the whole bowel issue. So it was just like, they're at a size that's still relatively safe as in, like I said, I have no pain. I never had pain symptoms per se, like not like your typical fibroid pain. So like my uterus itself doesn't hurt. It's other stuff in my body that hurt. So she was just like, if you're okay keeping them in there, you can keep them in there, and then you get pregnant, you good. You know, like, then November 2021, something about November. I go to the hospital again. I go to the emergency again. Same thing. Like, yo, something going on with my stomach here. I'm going to the bathroom crazy, and my stomach is still full. It's messing up my appetite. All this bad stuff. So once again, they do the CT scan, they do an ultrasound, and it's like, yeah, your fibroids. And they're pretty convinced at this point that it's the fibroids that's causing the issue. So I follow up with my gynecologist. She checks the ultrasound as well. And she's like, and I go to a gastroenterologist, and they're kind of all in the same consensus where it's like, yeah, the position of the largest fibroid was literally causing issues for the colon. So it was basically blocking it from being able to release all of the bowels. So if I don't have an aid that naturally helps it flush it out, or if I don't go through the process of getting it flushed out, I will basically keep getting backed up unless I remove the fibroids. So of course that wasn't what I wanted to hear. Like, you telling me that these things are grown back is not comforting at all. And then you basically telling me that what I've tried to do to keep them from growing didn't help. Or maybe it's just the added stress in my life that I wasn't really recognizing that stress. But at the end of the day, I'm at a point now where it's like, we gotta do something about it, and they can't stay in my body. So unfortunately for me, it looks like I might have to get another surgery. So I found I have been doing some research where there are natural herbs that help with, fibroids or even like cyst type things. So I did start some natural herbal teas to help, which requires you to change your diet. It's almost like a fast where you can only eat certain food, mostly fruits, vegetables, particularly steamed or cooked vegetables, and like specific grains, like alkaline grains, for 90 days. Now, we're going to pray about that 90 days. We still on week 1. So let me get through the first 21 days, and we'll figure out how the rest of these 90 days go. But so I guess I'll use my Too Faced Dark Chocolate Soleil as my bronzer. Whoop! If I can get it open. Oh, there it is. Anyway, Too Faced. I know that's backwards, but there you go. I done had this stuff for a while. I don't know how long you're supposed to keep makeup, but I'm not gonna throw it away. You know what I mean? Like, heck, it's still new to me. Am I gonna do concealer? I don't feel like it. I'm just gonna keep it simple. So I'm just gonna. I know that a little bit goes a long way. So I just use a little bit. For my highlight, I'm going to use this Urban Decay Heat because I'm cheating. Highlight / blush. And they have like this lumber color. Lumber? I think it's lumber. Right here. In this palette. Told you I don't do this. I don't even know how people do this. Like, is the camera supposed to be the mirror too? Because I'm supposed to be like this. Like, I'm looking at my mirror. But anyway. Fibroids. So like, I know a lot of women have them and don't. Some don't realize they have them. Or they have them and they don't. Maybe I should have put that on the highlight. What you call it? Oh well. But anyway. If you feel any kind of discomfort or some kind of abnormality in your body, I strongly recommend getting checked. Get your ultrasound. Actually, in the regular check, your doctor can press on your stomach and feel if you have fibroids in there. Like, I can press on my stomach right now and tell you exactly where my fibroids are, because that's how they're big in there. They're hard. Like, you can feel them. They're hard. So I know that they're there. I didn't realize they had gotten that big, but I know that they're there. So I just, like, no, I'm not happy about this. Y'all keep me encouraged. Keep me in your prayers. But we gonna get through it. We gonna do right by this here body. Worst case scenario that we have to get the surgery to get them removed, which my gynecologist can definitely remove them and obviously keep my uterus. Best case scenario is that this process of healing that we're going through, they will shrink on their own, and we don't have to worry about another surgery. So anyway, so thanks for chilling with me. I'm done. I don't be doing all that extra because that ain't my life right now. This is just a simple event. I ain't taking pictures. I'm just going to play cards. And I'm going to put on a wig. But thanks for chilling with me. If any of you guys know anything about fibroids, had them, heard about them, want to learn more about them, if you're curious to see mine, I wrote about them. I have a blog with the pictures in there. I did not include those photos in this video because some people might not like or feel comfortable seeing like medical photos in that way. But if you do want to see them, I will include the link to my blog in the description box so that you can see those pictures. Because I had gained a lot of weight that first time around. I had gained like 20 pounds. Yeah, I gained like 20 to 30 pounds. And my stomach looked like I was pregnant. So that was another reason why I didn't realize it had grown so much this time. Because if I look at me now, like my lower stomach, it's got like a little pudge to it, if I'm honest, like compared to like how my stomach usually is. But it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, I look at my stomach all the time and I'm just like, well, it's not as big as it was the last time they were at 8 centimeters. So I had no reason to believe they had gotten that large again. But when you see the photos, you'll see what I might include those photos in here because that's just my body. And then if you want to see the actual fibroids, like the pictures of the actual fibroids they took out, click the link. And that way, if you're really that curious, you'll just see. Anyway, so all my women out there, if you struggle with fibroids before, if you have never struggled with fibroids before, God bless you. If you have or are struggling with them, God bless you. We all in this together. We learning from each other. So definitely talk about it, and do not ignore the signs of your body. Keep going to your doctor and find a doctor that's going to listen to you until you get what you need, right? Like legit. Because that's what it took for me. I had to literally switch doctors many times before I found one that was willing to write a diagnosis just so I can get a test, just so we could find out what was going on. So medical care, like that matters. Like it really matters. Anyway, off my soapbox. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all little day. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and thank you for tuning in. I forgot what we was doing to get ready with me, and I was still working on my face. So let me finish. So my lips, I just put some baby lips on, and then this Unveil lip gloss by Fenty Beauty. And now I'm about to like do my setting powder. It's this hazelnut, the Pro Filter by, of course, Fenty. Most of my makeup is, if it's not the lip bar, it's Fenty. I think I got something else that's like a hypoallergenic mineral foundation, but usually I go Fenty. I don't have a beauty blender, so I'm just using a brush. And I still did not decide to go back and put on concealer. I just didn't feel like it. I know it makes it for a better finish overall. And like I said, if I was going to take pictures or something, or some kind of fancy event or whatever, I probably would do it. Or let's be honest, if I felt like it, I would do it. I just don't feel like it right now. I don't feel like doing my eyebrows either. They just going to be looking like they looking. That's how they look on a regular. So I've been good on the regular. I've seen things even clearer. These old days I've been lifted up. But darling, when you smile, it's like the rain dries out. And now there's no more room for clouds. Got me singing hallelujah. I appreciate Chloe and Hallie. They make beautiful music together. I follow them since they were just on the YouTube.